fought in like a Harrah's casino or something.
Okay.
A couple times. I fought in Kokomo, Indiana. Me and John traveled a bit. Evansville, probably. I brought John up to Brad Kohler, I think 2 or 3 times. I brought Mike and Clay French up that way as well. I know Mike fought. I'm not sure if Clay fought on those, but I know Mike, his older brother, did. Clay was a kid that wrestled at my college and that fought in Japan, and like fought Sine Kitaoka and a couple other really high-level guys. Like I said, Eastern Illinois, coming out of that college, just a rough and tumble room, as we were talking about earlier, produced a lot of like high-level guys. UFC, Bellator. We have a PFL champion that's come out of there. All sorts.
So let's talk about Eastern Illinois, because when you were there, they actually discontinued the wrestling program.
Just after I left.
Okay, just after you left.
Yeah.
But whoever was recruiting for that program, it was like a who's who in MMA.
But we were just like the leftover rough and tumble kids out of Illinois high school wrestling. Like we were the guys that couldn't go to Illinois and be a starter. We were the guys that couldn't go to Iowa State.
Let's go through the names. Matt Hughes.
Yep.
Mike Russo.
Yep.
Okay, who obviously multiple-time UFC veteran. Then you had both French brothers. Am I correct?
Yep.
Who else was there? Yourself. That's 5.
Kenny Robertson.
Kenny Robertson. Oh, I forgot about it. He was in the UFC a couple times. Kenny Robertson is a stud.
Matt Veach.
Matt Veach, too? I thought he was from Indiana. Yeah.
Oh, well, he might have been from Indiana, but he came through us.
Holy
Lewis
cow.
Taylor.
Lewis Taylor was there.
$1 million champion. He was my roommate. We used to play table tennis to warm up for like half an hour a day in our sweats, and then have our sweat and then go down to the wrestling room because fuck hitting a double leg cold. You know what I mean? Like we were warm, we were ready to go after some table tennis. But there would have been 4 or 5 more. I had a random kid named Kevin Nabjan. Miguel might remember this kid.
Yeah, I know who he is.
He was just some random kid. I loved him to death, and I'm sad that I lost contact with him because I really enjoyed the kid.
He's on the department now. He's on the police department.
I believe it. Yeah, he was a great kid. And his freshman year, he found me somehow. I was just training martial arts and trying to fight and do my thing because I was kicked off the wrestling team my 3rd year. So I had to have something to do for my sanity and keep my athleticism, going and self-worth, all that stuff, right? So he ended up training with me just in random dojos and sometimes in the wrestling room until the coach kind of told me I couldn't go in there anymore, even on the off hours. So, he ended up fighting in Bellator and a couple other pretty big shows.
Yeah, WEC.
So I had a roommate that fought Tim Sylvia and the late Justin Eilers both, and had them both, and had Sylvia in trouble. He couldn't touch Eilers. Eilers about killed him. But I mean, we had just some random dudes. Jim Theobald, Chris, you'll know that name.
I remember him. Jeez,
he wrestled.
He was at my college, just walking around like a badass mystery dude. Like, didn't wrestle, didn't do this, didn't do that, but he was just a badass dude.
I used him to break in Rogerio Nogueira. He was Nogueira's first fight in the States.
That's right.
Really?
So he reminds me of it. He could have been a Jeremy Horn.
Yeah,
he was that kind of athlete and that kind of guy.
He was a
bit
guy
more athletic. Yeah, but I never got to train with him.
Yeah, the problem with him
I was still wrestling
in MMA was money because he was the kind of guy that was a draw in Chicago, so he got paid more than I was going to pay him, to come to Indiana. I had a sponsor to make a big fight, so I got him once, and he was very, very easy to work with.
Oh, he's a sweetheart.
Gave everything in the fight, and he was no sweat, no problem. But he was like old school, like local fighter guy,
Yeah, he had to leave the fight game because he got on the fire department.
They wouldn't let him fight. I thought
all this nitty gritty stuff, like Brian, we get like real nerdy on this podcast, and it's like it's really not for beginners, but like we don't care, it is what it is. All right, so you had mentioned my favorite promoter of all time, Brad Kohler.